One, two, a 1, 2.
Kill the zombies by shooting them in the head. They can't eat you if you make them dead. Shoot the zombies, shoot the zombies, shoot the zombies. Hey, kill the zombies by shooting them in the head. They can't eat you if you make them dead. Shoot the zombies, shoot the zombies, shoot the zombies. Hey.
Zombies, zombies, zombies. They were all the rage for a long time. You couldn't take 2 steps without witnessing some kind of zombie media. It got straight up zilly. Zilly? Guys, it's like silly, but zombies, zilly. Zombie survival guides, Pride and Prejudice and zombies, Twilight but with zombies. And if you thought all that was stupid, how about real, actual ammunition and firearms with zombie theming? All this spread like an actual zombie virus. People couldn't get enough of the stuff. How soon we forget though that the zombie genre had laid dormant for quite a few years. Day of the Dead and Return of the Living Dead came out in 1985, and with that, it was kinda over for zombies. They were relegated to the status of total schlock, and anything of note was pretty much iterating on what came before. I mean, what's your favorite zombie film of the 90s? Zombie Cop?
Hey man, I hope you ain't mad or nothing.
I'm being a little reductive, but the truth of the matter is, there wasn't a lot of quality going around. What actually got the ball rolling again was video games. Resident Evil and House of the Dead brought zombies back to the forefront in a big way, and got Hollywood interested again. A Resident Evil movie got greenlit and was eventually released in 2002, and in the same year, 28 Days Later came out. All bets were off, and it was time to go ham on zombies again.
Where's my ham? I put it right here.
This was the environment that the Dawn of the Dead remake came up in. Video games, fast zombies, and a desperation to get content to audiences. I never really like to say movies are overrated. It's a nebulous term that doesn't really mean anything. And I think in 90% of cases, people are just saying it to give some kind of weight to their opinion. So I'm gonna say it straight. I think this movie is bad. If we take the fact that this is a remake out of the equation, well, it's still pretty bad. That being said, it is also a remake of a cornerstone of the genre, and the comparison only serves to make it seem worse. I talk about all the things surrounding the movie's release because I think it says a lot. Audiences wanted this at the time, and the studio gave it to them. On top of that, they didn't have nearly 20 years worth of this crap to be sick of it yet.
You keep bringing it up over and over and over again, like zombies. I'm sick of zombies.
I didn't see this movie when it came out. I was 4. I watched it for the first time a few years ago, and I don't have to tell you that zombies in and of themselves are not a draw anymore. I genuinely do believe this is a case of people seeing the movie when it came out, liking it, and never revisiting it again. However, I could be totally wrong on that front. I don't have a deep knowledge of people's opinions on this film other than it seems to be generally positive, and I certainly don't blame anyone for liking it at the time, nor do I blame them if they like it now. Cause let's be real, there's probably less than 10 impeccable zombie flicks, so the fact that there was any effort put into this movie at all puts it into a pretty high standing. Before we firmly park this bus into Shit-Slinging Central, also known as Cleveland, I must say the start of the movie is excellent. It's all killer, no filler. It sets the stage perfectly and is just a genuinely well done sequence. Okay, except when the guy gets hit by the ambulance, that's pretty silly. It's the best part of the movie by far. It's so good and the tone is set so well, it honestly feels like it belongs to a different movie. But look, credit where credit is due. The film keeps up a veneer of quality for around 40 minutes. There are some chinks in the armor, however. Some questionable splitting up, kinda bad dialogue, but the biggest issue is the mall is completely clear of anyone, really. Now it stands to reason there was a manageable amount of zombies in the original Dawn of the Dead, as it was not in the immediate vicinity of a city or town. In the remake, however, it's right smack dab in the middle of Milwaukee. This is done out of sheer plot convenience. There should be a million zombies here already. In fact, only a little while later, a mass of them starts converging on the mall. Beyond that though, you think a lot of people would attempt to break into what is shown to be a pretty good safe haven. You might consider this a nitpick, but it actually affects the movie in a big way. You see, clearing out the mall is a major part of the original Dawn of the Dead. Admittedly, it's a cool sequence, but the characters are shown putting in a lot of effort to accomplish this task. Then we get the payoff in the form of them playing around in the now secure mall. Obviously, they wanted to keep the part where they explore the mall for this new movie because it's iconic, but they don't really replace securing the mall with anything. I mean, they shoot a handful of zombies, but the complexities of which each group has to do really has no comparison. So it ultimately feels unearned. It's still fun in the visual sense, but it doesn't have a deeper meaning. I have a larger bone to pick with this scene, but I'll get to that in a bit, as there's a far more important subject I need to talk about. This movie has way too many characters. You see, before the 40-minute mark, we already have 8. The initial group and the security guards. That's already double the amount of the original. Granted, you could still make it work. However, this movie can't help itself and decides to introduce even more. Not just 1 or 2, 6! What for? This would have to be a TV show for you to have enough time to genuinely care about 14 different characters. I don't even think The Walking Dead had that many in the main entourage at any given time. This is such a huge issue because even just paying lip service to these lesser characters takes up so much time that the main characters don't really get the scenes that they need for us to continue to care about them. Their arcs are essentially paused at this 40-minute mark, and any attempt to continue them just feels shoehorned in. However, even when the movie decides to slow down and just have the characters interact with each other without anything else going on, you quickly realize that this dialogue is painful.
Okay, worst job.
I know which job I was the worst at. Just being a husband.
Man, shut the fuck.
Any scene that's trying to be emotional is totally undercut by these shortcomings. Like, for example, this second group of survivors has a father and daughter, and the father is infected. Now, this whole thing is supposed to tug at your heartstrings, but we don't know these characters at all. So as an audience member, you're just left with being completely practical about the situation. You don't care about this guy, so your only thought is, yeah, you gotta kill him. He's dead anyway, it doesn't matter. In fact, right after they kill this guy is when they cash in on the having fun in the mall sequence. In the original Dawn, we were already well acquainted with all the characters and we liked them. Here, however, it's the exact opposite. This sequence is used as a stand-in for getting to know these characters. First of all, it doesn't work. Everything we could possibly glean is superficial. Holy shit, this guy likes to golf? That will surely make me feel something when he dies horribly. Secondly, this feels so cynical. Copying a genuinely creative and fun scene just to make up for the fact that there is basically nothing to these characters? Well, it just sucks. Who wrote this crap anyway? Well, at least he got better. I think an excellent example to illustrate the shoddiness of these characters is these two. We'll call him Gang Guy and his Russian wife. I don't know any of the characters' names in this movie, except for Steve, of course.
Excuse me, when you two fellas are done blowing each other, maybe Davy Crockett can tell us the deal here.
And no, I will not be looking them up because I don't give a shit. Now, in terms of caring about characters, this should be a slam dunk. Pregnant woman and a guy who wants to make sure his wife and his baby are okay. Should be easy to make the audience care about their well-being. Unfortunately, they forgot to give them any other traits. The only thing out of this guy's mouth is talking about his baby or his wife. And the wife? Well, nothing comes out of her mouth. She barely has any dialogue. Then the movie decides that these characters are just gonna kind of fuck off and we're not gonna see much of them. So these characters boil down to, I'm a pregnant lady and I'm taking care of a pregnant lady. It also doesn't help that the movie reveals extremely early on that she got scratched by a zombie. I suppose this is a stab at dramatic irony, but Hitchcock, this is not. Since the film doesn't actually take the time to make you care about Russian wife or Gang Guy, the practical part of your mind sets in again. Since you know the wife is going to die and by that metric the baby as well, you know this guy's one motivating factor doesn't even matter. Again, you could make us care, but since we don't, everything going on here is just kind of a write-off. I could probably think of at least 5 stock ways to end this arc, but holy shit, the conclusion to this is something else. So despite being a zombie now, Gang Guy is still going through with the delivery. I can't really show a lot of what's going on in this scene because frankly, it's grotesque. You're probably thinking, oh, it's a zombie movie. Of course it's disgusting. But this is uncharacteristically disgusting. It genuinely doesn't mesh with anything else in the film. I think James Gunn thought he was back writing trauma movies for this scene. While this is happening though, this lady stumbles upon the sordid scene, and they have an epic shootout. Doesn't really seem like the appropriate time for that, and my only takeaway from this is that Zack Snyder just got done watching a Tarantino movie. Or maybe The Matrix. In all seriousness though, what am I supposed to get out of this? A character I barely know is shooting another character I know even less. It looks cool though. This one scene is this entire movie in a nutshell. Nothing going on character-wise whatsoever, but it looks cool. Then you have the zombie baby, which is so laughably fucking dumb I don't even need to comment on it. This is a zombie movie though, so why don't we actually talk about the zombies themselves? Now let me preface something. There's a big debate on which is better. Fast or slow zombies? I have to say neither is better. It ultimately depends on their portrayal. I believe fast zombies can work in one of two contexts. Number one is the pure action route. Our characters are such badasses that zombies are little more than just fodder to them, and we are more concerned with stylish action than a deeper emotional connection. Number two is that zombies are such an overwhelming force that without sufficient firepower, they must essentially be avoided altogether. This is something that 28 Days Later does to great effect. Also, something really important that 28 Days Later does is that they don't have to be shot in the head to be killed. AKA, it changes things around enough to make that particular version of a zombie work within the context of the movie. So what does the Dawn of the Dead remake do? Well, it opts for somewhere in the middle. Someone probably thought that doing that will give you the best of both worlds, but in reality it just doesn't work. You see, Snyder and company are under the impression that just giving the zombies the ability to run automatically makes them a bigger threat. However, what it actually does is the opposite. I know shooting a gun doesn't look that hard, but let me tell you, it's an extremely difficult thing to master, and that's just shooting stationary targets. Hitting moving targets is a whole other ball game. But we're not just talking about shooting something running full speed at you, we're talking about specifically shooting their head. The original Dawn goes to great lengths to show that the average person has a lot of trouble making hits on seemingly easy targets. This sells believability, but it's also great for relatability. Even if you feel like you could personally make these shots, it stands to reason that a lot of people couldn't. In the remake, every single person has the ability to kill zombies with 100% accuracy every time. Oh, I can do that, that's easy. So what training does this guy have that allows him to do this? Is he ex-Special Forces or something? Has he honed his skills throughout the years and he's some kind of shooting match champion?
I sell televisions at Best Buy.
I have to reiterate, this is actually an impossibility for these people with little or no experience to be pulling this off. Even the cop would not be able to do this. If he did train a lot, which most cops don't, they practice shooting center mass. So while he would be better off than most, he still couldn't pull off the ludicrous levels of accuracy in this movie. People might think this is a nitpick, but I assure you it's not. It puts all the characters at a superhuman level, which not only makes them unrelatable, but it also erodes tension. Even decently sized groups of zombies are no longer a threat. So the only way these characters can face any kind of dangerous situation is if they make totally asinine decisions. Let's also not forget that a big draw of zombies as a concept is that it's somewhat relatable. It turns the world upside down, sure, but it's not an instant, overwhelming threat to humanity that an average person can't put themselves in these characters' shoes. Let's not pretend like we haven't all thought about what we would do if there was a zombie apocalypse. Now on the other hand, let's say the Covenant invaded. As the average person, I'm probably just fucked, and my fate is fairly out of my hands. I wouldn't be Master Chief, I'd be this guy. Dawn 2004 loses this relatability because no one can relate to being a video game character. If you, dear viewer, went up against these zombies like the people in the movie do, you just die. So we have underwritten, unlikable, unrelatable characters who are also fucking stupid. So you know what that means? I feel nothing. This is a pretty excellent recipe to make me feel absolutely nothing about these characters. I really don't care whether or not they live or die, which is a problem to have in your horror movie. This culminates in what is essentially a mad dash to the finish where every plot point is motivated by the characters being stupid. After the whole shootout business, our main-ish character, as she's been completely sidelined at this point, really wants someone to say something poignant. Luckily, Ving Rhames' character steps in before someone could start spouting off melodramatic dialogue. Unfortunately for us, he's also cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, as he starts spouting complete nonsense.
In the back of my mind, I was always saying, better them than me. But I don't believe that now. Because now I realize that there's some things worse than death, and one of them is sitting here waiting to die.
I don't want to die here.
What are you on about? Okay, we're just gonna completely abandon this safe haven because one bad thing happened, and now that means you don't want to die in this particular location? I understand that the original makes it a point that after a while, our characters are completely miserable. However, that detail is skipped over in the remake. Let's also not forget that in the original, they still didn't leave of their own volition, their hand was forced. It's such an ass pull that they all agree to leave for such an unsure fate. It would have been better to copy the original and have them get attacked by a group of ne'er-do-wells. Or they get some kind of transmission from the military and make a try for that. In that case, it would be more of a calculated risk and understandable that they would want to leave the safety of the mall. What's their big plan here? Take this guy's boat to an island? This is a reference to the original Dawn of the Dead, except the guys that were doing that were like stupid. So our main characters are about as smart as some throwaway ones from the original. That seems about right. Look, obviously there are no islands in Milwaukee, but that's not even my issue. If the movie says there are islands, then there are islands. But this is the culmination of the characters acting stupid to further the plot. You can also bet your ass that before they leave, they're constantly just fucking up left and right. Whatever, they leave for the dock, half the people die, not that we care. They do a cut to black gunshot. Awesome. Oh, and during the credits, it reveals once they actually get to the island, there's a bunch of zombies on it. That mall is looking pretty good now, huh? I've been ripping this movie a new one for a while now, but I want to make it clear that I'm not super picky when it comes to film. A good point of comparison is the Paul W.S. Anderson Resident Evil movies. Dawn of the Dead 2004 has a lot in common with these, and I don't mind saying that I genuinely enjoy most of those films. The complete and utter insanity that they bring to the table is genuinely entertaining. It doesn't really matter much that the characters are written poorly when they're doing shit like getting chased by Russian zombie bikers, slam dunking an airplane, and whatever is going on here. The point is, the movies aren't super concerned with you taking them really seriously, and I don't. I'm totally fine with giving movies the benefit of the doubt with what they're trying to accomplish. The problem with Dawn of the Dead 2004 is that it almost begs you to take it seriously, but it doesn't put in the work to do that. Then the action scenes aren't over the top enough to make up for it, but they're also still too unrealistic to take seriously. After skimming some reviews just to get an idea of what people think, I noticed the chief complaint was that it forewent the satire from the original movie. However, we gotta walk before we can run, and Dawn of the Dead 2004 does not accomplish its own goals, so let's not even pretend it could hold a candle to the original. That being said, they gave it a genuine effort, and that's why I call it a stylish failure. It looks good, it has a lot of nice camera work, and Snyder does his best to keep the action varied. It just doesn't make up for everything else. Gunn's and Snyder's careers diverged and then kinda ironically both ended up in the same place. but they never actually worked together again. Dawn of the Dead 2004 was Zack Snyder's first movie, and while James Gunn had more experience, this was his first attempt at something more serious. So it's kind of a shame that these two never did some kind of follow-up together. As it stands, Dawn of the Dead 2004 is just a relic of its time. It's a very 2004 movie made for a 2004 audience, one that just wanted to see zombies on the big screen. I suppose it represents a foot in the door for the people who made it. However, I don't see a ton of value for anyone going back to revisit it. So the moral of the story is, if you want to watch a good zombie movie from 2004, just watch Shaun of the Dead.
They'll lamp around in blood and cover things in stains. They'll moan and groan and try to eat your flesh and brains. But if you lead them down an alley, you can snipe them pretty badly. Cause the best way to kill zombies is by shooting them in the head. Kill the zombies by shooting them in the head. They can't eat you if you make them dead. Shoot the zombies, shoot the zombies, shoot the zombies. Hey, kill the zombies by shooting them in the head. They can't eat you if you make them dead. Shoot the zombies, shoot the zombies, shoot the zombies. Hey, kill the zombies by shooting them in the head. They can't eat you if you make them dead. Shoot the zombies, shoot the zombies, shoot the zombies. Hey, shoot the zombies, shoot the zombies, shoot the zombies. Hey.